Welcome to episode 434 of the Microsoft Cloud IT Pro podcast, recorded live on August 10, 2026. This is a show about Microsoft 365 and Azure from the perspective of IT pros and end users, where we discuss a topic or recent news and how it relates to you. In this episode, Ben and Scott provide their perspective on Project Perception, Microsoft's latest AI security tool that provides you with a workforce of AI agents. We discuss what perception really is, what you need to have to get started, and the agents and tools that are contained within the product. Join us as we unpack Project Perception. Scott, I mentioned this to you. I had a statement that I made 2 weeks ago when we recorded on the whole authentication and passkeys. And we mentioned that you can go discuss with us on Reddit. And somebody was like, hey, Ben, you said something incorrect. And they called me out on Reddit. So yes, I made a couple of comments. One, I said I thought synced passkeys were tied to Authenticator, and I had it backwards in my head. The device bound are Authenticator. You can't do synced passkeys and Authenticator. So yeah. I had it backwards in my head, and we were talking about 1Password. I also discovered 1Password does work now for synced passkeys. I just had a misconfiguration in my tenant that was preventing me from doing it.
I think I have a misconfiguration in my tenant or my employer's.
Can you make configuration changes in your tenant?
Not like that.
They don't let you go just add random passkey GUIDs to... I never know. Is it GUIDs? Is it GUIDs? Is it... Yeah.
I say GUID.
You say GUID. I interchange them sometimes.
You've got that whole panhandle thing going on. Like there's a little bit of the accent from the panhandle.
Yeah. Usually I say GUID, and then every once in a while I get that GUID that sneaks in there. No, the AA GUID, they don't let you just add those randomly to your tenant.
Probably not.
Do you have agents scanning your tenant to look for those types of things?
I'm sure I do. But I mean, what is an agent?
What is an agent? What is the skill? What is AI?
Yes.
I can pontificate about Skynet.
Agent Smith? Oh no, we're going to go Skynet.
Agent Smith.
Go Skynet first.
Oh, Agent Smith. No, we can do Agent Smith. Do you realize how old that movie is? We talked about this before. Came out in 99, Scott. We were going on 27 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We were watching a TV show the other day, and there was a line in there. It was a teenager talking to, we were watching a movie, but it was a teenager talking to her parent. And her dad was born in 1980, like from the 1900s, like kind of.
Yeah,
and
like
she has this quip to her dad that you were born closer to 1940 than I was to 1980, meaning like when we were born, we were closer to the 40s than a kid today, 45, 46 years later, would actually be to 1980. That was a really weird one for me. It's like I'm old in multiple dimensions.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to think about that too hard.
Yeah.
I just want to pretend I'm still 20.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I know this get there, all my gray hair and everything, but I got one more for you too. Listen, you hear that? The sound of silence?
I don't hear the sound of
the
nothing.
Kids are back in school. I get my house back. I get my office back.
How does it feel to be back in silence?
It would be okay, except I got this puppy behind me. So if he starts screeching, you'll know why. Either he didn't like the content or he really needed to go outside.
It is a cute new puppy.
Yeah. All right.
I will let you enjoy the puppies. I'm not going to enjoy the puppies. I even had a good segue into agents. We got distracted by puppies and
squirrels.
silence.
Sorry, I took you there. We'll get back.
Okay.
Human in the loop. Human in the loop. We're back. Humans dragging us.
Okay. That was quite the perception there, Scott, of the... Wow. Okay. So agents, human in the loop, a new product from Microsoft, a new service. I don't know. At what point in time, speaking of agents and skills, what's a product now and what's a service?
I don't know anymore.
Who knows?
Up is down. Project is down. Left is right. But yes, Project Perception.
Project Perception.
What are we perceiving with Project Perception?
What are we perceiving? We are perceiving tenant security. Like, this is an interesting one. It is a new security product or service from Microsoft. And right from the website for Project Perception, a workforce. So now you aren't, maybe this isn't even a service or a product. It is a workforce. It's a workforce of specialized AI agents, red, blue, and green, that reason across your security data tools workflows to expose gaps, investigate threats, remediate them, You set the strategy, agents carry the load. So this is an agentic security-based service from Microsoft that you can go in and enable at some point in time. Right now, it's like a limited public preview. So very selective in who can get access to it. But all the documentation, the websites, everything else is out there so that you can now enable agents to secure your environment.
Can you though?
Ish. What is an agent, Scott?
I think that's one of the biggest things that I ran into this. But before we get like too deep into that, maybe we should talk a little bit about what project perception like proposes to be and what the agents it proposes to be that are in this limited public preview that are out there. And then we can maybe come back a little bit to what is an agent and what does like supervision look like in particularly context of project perception and what they've released in this first iteration here.
Yeah, and even some of the onboarding of this, I had to pull together, again, limited public preview, all over the documentation. Things are liable to change. But I had to pull together a few different things to figure out, like, what do you even need or what does this look like from an onboarding perspective? Because you have the homepage, and then when you go down in the documentation and start looking at it, it has certain requirements. So if this is something you're interested in, just getting started with it and looking through some of the prerequisites this is something that's going to live in the Microsoft Defender portal. So you'll need to have access to Defender, Microsoft Defender XDR, Security
like
Center.
Uber Defender.
I can keep coming up with acronyms. Yeah, security.microsoft.com. You do need to have a unified role-based access control, URBAC.
URBAC. This was a new acronym that was popping up all over the documentation for this one.
Yes, that needs to be enabled across all Defender workflow or workloads. You have to be a security admin, security reader. And then even as you get into some of the agents, then it talks about, I believe with some of these agents, like different licensing, you need to have Defender for cloud enabled to look at your Azure stuff. You need to have certain prerequisites for various workloads. So Defender for Office 365 Plan 2. If you want to look at email and collaboration stuff, you need to have Defender for Cloud, Defender for Containers. If you're wanting to look at your Azure Cloud, Defender or Entra ID P2, Defender for Identity, Defender for Cloud Apps to look at identity alerts. So this is one part that for me, it's like all through the documentation, it talks about the licensing and URBAC and all of that. But then when you go back to the actual product page and you scroll all the way down and you look at how is project perception priced, then it comes up with you pay for only what you use measured in security compute units.
The mythical, the magical SCU.
Yes, our good old security Copilot SCUs. So if this is something you're interested in, much like some of the other things we've talked about, this is not, I would not call this a low cost barrier to entry. You're probably looking at, you already have Microsoft 365 E5, or at least a lot of the security products from E5, and you're going to be willing to pay for security compute units to be able to go in and run these agents. So that is here's where you go, how you want to think about if this is something you're interested in, just from a pure pricing, licensing, onboarding perspective in that respect.
It's got a lot of moving pieces and parts. And I think you can see probably where it's like limited public preview, because it's for those folks out there who are a little bit more in like token maxing land, or I think just kind of some of the bleeding edge, like really interested in the frontier programs and other things like that are available today.
Yeah. So once you turn all that on, once you have everything licensed and enabled and permissions set, then you can go start looking at these agents.
Well, I mean, I just get an AI that does it all for me, right?
Yeah, you just tell it, go do your thing. Go be my security team, my security workforce.
Go be my security workforce. Indeed. Well, so yeah, you get all this stuff lit up. There is a lot of licensing. There is a lot of configuration. I didn't see like a configure this for me agent as part of onboarding. So you do have to go and kind of wrangle that all together. But once you do get that going, you get these categories of agents. Like, I guess broadly, right? They group them into red team, blue team, and green team. So red team, traditional kind of penetration side of things, like out there to identify what's exploitable and potentially exploit it. Blue team to monitor for those threats when they see them come through, like can they reconstruct them, get through the path, close any gaps, like if there was something exploitable, like, hey, let me come and close those up real quick. And then green team to remediate and harden configuration. So while blue team might be doing like active monitoring, triaging alerts, things like that, green team's out there kind of constantly analyzing your posture, making sure to give you like a set of prioritized recommendations, things like that are going to help you ultimately like harden that posture. So I think that's like all good on the surface. And you go like, well, that would be kind of interesting, right? Like, so I've got this thing that can get out there and it can try and poke holes in my configuration and see what can actually get through. I've got another piece over here that can kind of monitor things and potentially operationalize that monitoring or that observability and go close those gaps real quick. And then I've got something else on the back end that's kind of sitting more in a constant loop and basically doing continuous improvement and run, kind of like CI/CD for your tenant configuration. Is what it sounds like. I think it's very easy to say like, oh, hey, that's what it all reads as. But ultimately, back to that original question of what is an agent, that very much like bleeds back into what project perception is here. Because like that was the thing that struck me. So you go out, you read about it, you read the blog posts, things like that. You go through the docs and you're like, cool. And then you get down to it and the things that I was saying of, hey, let's do the whole red, blue, green, and it's a little bit more automated. Turns out it's really heavy on human in the loop. Everything is actually manually triggered and effectively read only, like with like one or two caveats, but pretty much across the board read only. And if that's the case, and you're kind of like, you're doing all the supervision and you're doing all the monitoring, and it is very heavy on human in the loop, is it truly agentic, or is it more like a set of capabilities that you've been provided, maybe as like a security engineer within your organization, to go and kind of help you have additive tools to understand your environment configuration, things like that. I can see where it goes in the future, but it's hard to today to kind of be able to like really wrangle it together. And then I wonder back to the whole pricing aspect of it. Like, is it worth it? Like, what are you getting here? I kind of walked away at the end, and I know this is a little flippant of me, but like you walk away at the end of like, there's a bunch of like scripts and things out there that help you evaluate your environment already. Like, what's additive here that you're getting out of it?
I have done some of this type of stuff, even using existing AI. So I think seeing some of this and having it built in was a little intriguing to me. I think as I look at this, certain agents are I probably get different value from different agents in this. And maybe we dive into them, like the red team agent. Like you said, that's going to be identifying the weakness. This one to me is, I think there's some value here, but I think you also have some limitations here. This one, when you go look through it, Microsoft has the recon agent that's on the red team.
There's multiple agents.
There's multiple agents under these different teams.
Yeah, under the teams categories, yes. So as we go through this, it's like, red team has recon agent, blue team has 4 agents, and green team has 1 agent under it. So you could also potentially see like additional capabilities being introduced over time and having that stuff come through. But yeah, so maybe we start with the recon agent out there scouting around.
These are always interesting, right? Recon agent to me, because it's simulating attack behavior, trying to expose vulnerabilities that adversaries could exploit. It's looking at things like mapping attack paths, looking at choke points in your configuration. It does have vulnerability code scanning in there. I think maybe that one jumps out at me a little bit, exposes detection gaps, but it's all simulated, right? And this is the part where you start thinking of, you can only get so far, I think, in a simulation. You can only hit an API so many times before you actually would have to make a configuration change, like to go through to the next step. So, well, I think it can find, it's almost like it could find surface level stuff, but it has a limit to the depth that it could go to. Because if you have to expose one vulnerability, how can it know that if it maybe gets past the first layer, that it can move laterally? Or if it exploits this certain code vulnerability, how does it know if it can keep taking the next step? Like, this is maybe that first line. Maybe some of the AI stuff can kind of say, well, if I can get past here, then I can go do this and this. But I also think there's some value here. Some of the other things I've done with some of my other AI tools and looking at this is taking some of the correlation too between like what's known out there, going out and looking at the web. What are known CVEs out there? What are known exploits? What are some of those things that are known to be exploitable? Do you see them in the configuration of my tenant where an exploit from over here could be used over here in my tenant? The red team, to me, a lot of the investigatory probing, I think there's a level, but I also think there's a lot of correlations and maybe looking at things from different angles where you can get some value from AI here.
I think it's back to the whole what's an agent thing. I think it's interesting that they called it an agent because like there is, I'm not arguing that there's not value in it, but I think the presentation's interesting. So if you go and read the docs and you start hopping in and you say, okay, what's the recon agent and what's it do? It's very clearly positioned as a single pane of glass across multiple Defender products, right? So this is additive to Defender. So Defender is kind of the base. It's out there. It's what protects you. So that's number one. Is it's a little kind of like, it is that little canned reporting kind of thing, right? Of saying, hey, let's go down the path, analyze your environment configuration. I think where the AI thing comes in and where it's a little bit less of a canned report, but it's still very much a report at the end of the day, is the ability to go look at your specific tenant configuration. Let's say the configuration for maybe one of your subscriptions in Azure. It's able to hop through that subscription specifically and kind of do more pivots and kind of what if analysis than a traditional, all right, go check this binary, if this, then that kind of thing. I think that's where AI helps out with these things. It makes it a little bit more of a choose your own adventure, but ultimately getting to that single pane of glass that's out there. I think even that single pane of glass is interesting the way it's kind of presented back to you. So like when you go and run these things, you don't get a traditional dashboard. Like it's not like you get like a Power BI report or anything like that. You get a bunch of markdown files in a kind of known format. But if you were to run it against my tenant and then run it against your tenant, we should get different sets of, we get the same set of output markdown files, but with different guidance in each one.
The markdown files to me make sense because one of the other things, like if we want to go take this the next step, is you get all this markdown. It does talk about, and this is maybe where some of that value comes in with project perception, is it can take the output of one agent and feed it to the next agent.
Which you kind of need, right? Like if you're going to go and say, hey, I found something wrong in your configuration, you kind of want to pass that off to the next thing to have it evaluate, say like, okay, is this important? Where does it land? And that's where kind of like the blue and green come in to say, hey, let's go, what's prioritization look like here? Like that's the responsibility of the green team agent. It's not the responsibility of any of the blue team agents that are out there that are kind of doing active triage or things like that.
Yeah, and that's where that red team, it's like we've gone in, we've done the recon, we've figured out all these things. Now let's pass it over to that blue team agent. And this one, there's the most in here where you have 4 agents in the blue team. You have the triage agent, you have the attack investigation agent, the threat intelligence agent, and the detection authoring agent. And I think this is one where that red team agent can then take those markdown to the blue team and pass it over to the triage agent, where this agent can now go take all of that information. This is where I have mixed feelings on this, because the triage agent, it would be interesting to see how it passes. The triage agent has defined, classifies, and triages as alerts in Defender for different workloads, for different alert types. It does have some things like autonomous triage. It has some learning based on feedback, record classification. But if your red team agent is read-only, it shouldn't, in theory, actually trigger any alerts in Defender because it's not taking any actions, I don't think. Maybe it would. Maybe it would try, like, what is a read-only agent, I guess, Scott? Is it actually going to try to log in? Is it going to try, like, brute forcing a password a little bit? In my mind, that's not really read-only. It's doing a little bit more writing. And to really get things to trigger in Defender, you have to do that type of stuff. It would be nice to see this evolve a little bit where maybe the recon agent is allowed to poke at your tenant a little bit more. Microsoft's running it all. It would be able to recognize it and flag it accordingly. So that blue team agent could actually, like, you could see a little bit more of a simulated attack versus just a, let's go read all the configuration.
It's what I was kind of planning for. It was like, hey, when do these things get out? It'll get a little bit more proactive. But even touching things can be a little touchy sometimes when you're out there. So if you look at these agents, and so per agent, there's a configuration. And that configuration comes with a set of permissions that are going to be layered into the graph and your tenant and other things that are out there. So if you look at like the recon agent, it gets some pretty privileged role assignments. Like it does get user read all, it gets group member read all, application read all, delegated permissions read all, audit log read all, things that are out there. It also gets a bunch of Azure RBAC assignments. So you have to kind of go through, add a subscription scope and assign these things down, or assign it at a higher level, like a management group, something like that. Let it bleed through. But it gets reader, specifically Key Vault reader and log analytics reader, as well as security reader that are out there. So you think even going through and just kind of poking at things, maybe it'll set some things off depending on how your environment's configured and what it is. But
right.
I really look at, like today, like the red team agent would be out there analyzing your environment. It's going to like tell you what the broad scope of things, maybe think about like a funnel, like you're always going to be funneling it down. So broad set of things that are out here. The blue team is going to be sitting out there and saying like, okay, what are my tasks I need to go? What do I need to triage that's out there? And this is where maybe like even like the red agent goes away a little bit, is like you have things like an attack investigation agent. So that could be super helpful, right? Because you've got an active tenant and you're out there. You don't need the red team to come in and look at things like that, tell you about misconfigured users, anonymous logins, all those kinds of things. So yeah, you get that funnel, pass it to the blue team, and then you get a little bit more of the green team expertise to say like, hey, here's what we're going to prioritize to go and fix that's out there, which is interesting. Like the green team is really focused on prioritization. Like there's one agent today. It's the posture prioritization agent. Says it on the tin, where it's going to go and what it's going to do for you.
If you're managing file storage today, you've probably felt the pressure. Refresh cycles are harder to plan, costs and complexity are increasing, especially as file workloads scale across regions. That's why Microsoft customers trust Nasuni. As an Azure-certified software, Nasuni provides a global file system designed for enterprise-scale environments, keeping file data secure, governed, and accessible across Azure environments without added infrastructure complexity. It's the foundation to keep your unstructured data stable, even as your infrastructure evolves. To see how much you could save while keeping your initiatives on track, visit nasuni.com/TCO. That's NASUNI.com/TCO. I like the attack investigation agent. That, if I was going to just, from the title without having played with these, look at these, I can see a lot of value with the attack investigation agent. I would like it to see it get to a better price point.
You need a lot for this one, right? You come back to what do you need to turn on to get all this stuff going? This one's like XDR, EU5s, for all the categories of attacks, identity attacks, and kind of cloud and compute side of things. Kind of looking at a lot, right? Like the cloud side, you got Defender for cloud, Defender for containers. You got the identity side with Entra, where you need Defender for cloud apps, Defender for identity, P2s.
This one actually calls out you need the E5 license, the M365 E5. But I have a lot of clients, and I say the value this one. I have, not a lot, I have a few clients. They're relatively small, right? They don't have like a dedicated security team. They don't have a dedicated SOC, but they're big enough that they are maybe running E5s. They're running Defender for endpoint. They're Intune enrolled, and something gets triggered. Some type of, not necessarily it's a known attack, but something in Defender is triggered as a potential attack. Defender is great. It is not the most intuitive interface for a IT generalist to dig through to figure out if they need to be worried about a particular alert or incident or something that is raised in Defender. If Microsoft could figure out a way to really lower the cost of this, so some of these SMB type of companies could leverage this to help them with an investigation of certain alerts and incidents raised in their tenant. I think there's a lot of value there in helping what I will say more IT generalists understand what they should be worried about or concerned about when different alerts are raised in Defender. And I think that's where this one fits in the blue team, is when you actually have an attack, not taking inputs from the red team, but actually looking at attacks and trying to help people identify what actually is going on there. Helping them understand the attack path, the replaying the attack, giving them a summary, looking through what was the result of the incident, what were the different MITRE attack techniques that were seen, like what are all the different components of the attack to help someone understand it, really.
I think that one's there. There's the threat intelligence agent. I
struggle with this one.
Yeah? Why is that?
How is this different than a secure score? That would be it in a summary. Threat intelligence is looking at reports. Or no, maybe it wasn't this one. Maybe it was the green one. No, it's more the green one. Threat intel. But I think this is still somewhat of a secure score.
A little bit.
Ish.
Very, very much so. So it's taking kind of public signals and public reports and then identifying them out against environments that are out there. So, or I guess your environment. And this is where it comes down to, like, is it a report at the end of the day? It's like, yes, it's a report. You get some markdown, comes out of it, things like that. What do I go and do with that? Then it's up to you to figure it out. It's interesting what the different reports give back. So, like, if you look at like the attack investigation agent, for example, like one of the primary things that it's intended to do is give you a little bit of guidance. So it has a classification in the report, like an incident verdict. So I'm going to give you a classification that says, is this a true positive, a false positive, or benign with transparent reasoning? So that could be a little helpful, right? Like drive you a little bit further down, like something that maybe like a human doesn't need to take a hard decision on, but can be human in the loop, things like that. And that's a little bit different than like the threat intelligence agent, which is still going to give you your executive summary, all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of just give you a profile of a potential threat actor and things that are out there. Interestingly, it does do a little bit of kind of like the attack investigation agent, or maybe even like that Rehan agent is doing. It's also kind of looking for like indicators in your environment. So if you're thinking about like identity logins, things like that, like that's looking at IP addresses, domain names, email addresses, and then it's trying to leverage, because again, Defender all under the hood, right? You've got this common core platform in there.
Yep.
Pull in like enrichment data from Defender. So if there's any kind of known attack vector, things like that out there, it'll be able to classify it against your environment. But to your point, like, couldn't I just go and maybe look at Secure Score or another dashboard, and like that stuff should be kind of screaming at me to say, go fix it.
Maybe this gives you a little bit more. The other one that I feel like is kind of similar to this is you already have, and maybe this is a superset, you already have vulnerability, the vulnerability assessment, vulnerability management as well, that's in Defender. That's already looking at your environment and telling you where you're vulnerable, where you have users, machines, software, settings that are creating vulnerabilities in your environment. Again, maybe that's just one of the items that feeds into this, but some of these I feel like it's maybe a little bit of a stretch to say we need this agent doing it, because a lot of that functionality is already there to a certain extent.
Well, you kind of like want it to go just a little bit more, right? Like, give me the report, take the output, like let me do something. So like threat intelligence agent, for example, another one of the outputs that it has, some of the artifacts. So you get this markdown report that comes out. It also gives you a bunch of kind of ready to go Custo queries, KQL queries for your Defender XDR telemetry. So that's cool, right? Like not everybody's a KQL expert, let alone understanding like the schemas as they hop across maybe like a set of tables and log analytics related to Azure over to your security environment. Like that stuff's like can be weird to poke at. And unless you like really know the schemas or have internalized them, like I could see that being super helpful, but like, why can't you just go run those queries for me? Like, so great. So you gave me a bunch of ready to use Custo queries that are scoped to my environment that are going to help me search for indicators of threats in my environment. Why not just go run, like keep running it, right? Keep running it in a loop, come back and then kind of give me the outputs and let's go from there. So you can see like the potential. Like I think this is where they would go with it, but who knows?
It's expensive to run it in a loop, Scott. That's going to cost me both arms and legs instead of just one arm and a leg.
Yeah.
But I do agree, like it would be good to see it a little bit more proactive, automated type of stuff. The other one, are you ready to move on to the detection authoring agent? This is another one that intrigues me. This one, I would say I can also see a little more value here of this one is to help you build exactly what it sounds, detections. What type of logic do you need to have? What type of rules do you need to have in place? How should you be looking at your data to help create detections in your environment? And this one, to your point earlier about some of the KQL and the schemas and generating that, a lot of detection alerts right now are based off of KQL queries that you write or you get from content packs and Sentinel, where you have all your data going in there, but you need to write your KQL queries and build your, I completely am blanking on the name of what they are right now in Sentinel, but essentially your automated triggers. It sees this data, it runs this workbook every 5 minutes, 15 minutes, hour, but it still requires you to author all of that. This one is designed really to help people create KQL-based detections, map detection coverage to MITRE attacks, tune their detection methods.
It's effectively your alerting logic.
Right. It's helping you build your alerting logic in a way that maybe you don't need to go in and understand all of that logic to the level of depth that you need to now. I look at this kind of like how I use AI to write PowerShell scripts. I can go write a PowerShell script. Sometimes it's easier just to let AI figure out the logic and the tweaks and the little nuances of it. I think this is the same way. You can still go write KQL. You can go write all of this. This just helps with some of the nuances and helps you refine how you detect or how you detect more alerts, potential compromises in your environment, which I think can be a good thing. It can be very nuanced to write these things where you don't get so many false positives that you just start ignoring them.
I think you're still a little, and that's where it's human in the loop, right? Like you're depending on those. So the agents, because it's a funnel, they are meant to feed into each other. So, but you're sitting there coming out of that threat intelligence agent, which had those classifications like false positive, true, false positive, true positive, benign. And then you're taking it and kind of passing parts of it through, I guess, because you're kind of left with like the threat intelligence agent seems like it's giving you the KQL to go and look and hunt a little bit for yourself. And then something like the detection authoring agent is coming in. It's taking that report and then it's still generating you yet another set of alerting and detection logic that then you would go and deploy in your environment if you so choose. Because again, there's going to be more like rationalization here for you to say, hey, is this thing that the agent's telling me is something that I actually want to go do? And then that would make it very secure score-ish, right? You're sitting out there looking at a number of like, what do I have to do now? Like, is still at 800 or I don't even know. I haven't paid attention to like what the boundary is, but like you're looking at a number, right, that really doesn't have any meaning. And then you got to take a step back and figure out. So hopefully some of these reports come with some of that stuff. I would have loved to have seen like sample reports in the documentation or something like that, but they didn't have any of that. They just give you the schemas of the reports or the high levels.
What's going to come out of it? And then the final one, Green Team. Ready to move on to Green Team?
The posture prioritization agent.
This is the one I was thinking of that I'm like, this is just the agentic version of the secure score. This helps teams and stakeholders understand what to fix first and why. In my mind, that was the whole point of the secure score. Like, let me go look through the secure score and find where I'm the most vulnerable or where I can get the most bang for my buck in terms of fixing and use the secure score to prioritize it. Maybe this takes it a little step further. It's looking at the inputs of where are attacks being seen, what is some of the attack investigation or the threat intelligence, the detection, authoring that you're writing. Is this taking inputs from the blue team to kind of reprioritize? Because the one thing I would say about Secure Score is it was very much, is this configuration on? And how many users, how many machines, et cetera, is it applied to? You just get a number. The prioritization of Secure Score wasn't necessarily based on what I would say real world data, real world analytics and what's going on in your tenant, other than a settings off or on across X number of people. So maybe this helps with a little bit more real-time prioritization, taking in a few more signals other than just is a configuration on or off. But this is going to not go in and make fixes for you, going back to your human in the loop, the read-only. It's just going to tell you, here's the order you should go apply all these settings or fix all these things in your environment.
The other thing we should maybe talk about here as we're kind of getting towards the end is orchestrating these things or pushing them together. So great. So you get all these agents that are out there. Like, what does it look like to run them? I think the most interesting one to me was probably the playbook things or the playbook play. Go and kick these things off. So if you did have something in the Defender portal pop up, so you get an incident or you get an alert that pops up, you can go run these playbooks, and then the playbooks act as orchestrators for the underlying agent definitions that are out there. So they can kind of go start the flywheel for you, but then you'll still be human in the loop for kind of those decisions along the way that we talked about.
Yep. And these are very much, this is something I would love to be able to start playing with. Maybe once it becomes generally available, I'll go spin it up for a few days to play with it. But playbooks very much came from Security Copilot. Like, people already have security playbooks in there running a series.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the evolution here.
Like, this is just, I feel like this is even further integrating Security Copilot into where people work. Now you don't have to go over there. You can go trigger these playbooks, tie in these agents that, I mean, realistically, maybe are a part of Security Copilot, or this is the next iteration of Security Copilot within your environment. But yeah, the playbooks look like they're going to be that main service that you're going to go use, or that main functionality that you're going to use to go trigger all these prompts and these agents from various areas within Defender, within your environment.
Defender, then it's interesting. It becomes part of that single pane of glass as well, which it was meant to be anyway. So you can kind of come at it a couple different ways.
Exactly. Anything else? Sessions. I mean, sessions are just monitoring your agent work. Session, just like any session in AI. But it's interesting. I'm curious to see where this goes. I am curious to get my hands on it and use it sparingly so I don't run out of money. And to see, to your point, where agents are going. This is still very much a lot of read-only. As these get better and better, is there a point we get to where an alert gets detected in one of the, I guess the blue team agents would be detecting them, and then triggering off a green team agent where it actually can go in and make the resolution, make the fix to whatever the issue is? We were talking about it earlier. I feel like I'd still be a little nervous of that.
There's a whole weird thing here, right? So do you trust these identities? So like that recon agent is out there, but it's got a bunch of those graph permissions. Like, okay, hey, and it's got Azure subscription scope roles in it. So sure, they're read only, but it does expose your configuration. Like, what happens if that configuration report doesn't get published to the right place? There's a big question about who supervises these things. So if you're going to be human in the loop for these things and you're going to be supervising it, I think you'd want those folks to have kind of the same or greater permissions than the agent, right? You wouldn't want the agent to be able to run away past that.
Yeah, because you want to be able to go in and validate some of the data coming back, I think. I would.
But what does that look like in a world of junior to senior level, folks in your security operations center? If you're sitting out there, typically junior folks are going to be very scoped down in their permission. Now you can't have them fully monitor the agent because one, they could be exposed to configuration they're not supposed to. And two, they don't have the same rights as they need to anyway. And then I think it will be interesting as more activity-based things come in. So where you can maybe do things disable a user account based on anomalous logins or things like that today. Where do you start to kind of peel back permissions or become more permissive, I guess, in what you put out there? And when do you start to kind of tear down approval gates? Because if you go through the documentation, one of the things that'll pop up a couple times is the suggestion, not the discrete guidance to go do this, but it is definitely a suggestion to just reduce approval gates and some of the friction that's there for those agents. So hey, it's proven, I had to do this thing. It feels like it's deterministic and it's out there. Is it going to be truly deterministic?
Right.
Who knows? Maybe it is today, but is it when the next underlying foundation model comes out or things like that? Oh, that's the other one to think about is I didn't see any place where it's explicitly called out what models these agents use under the hood. It's kind of hand wavy. It talks about OpenAI Foundry models, Azure OpenAI Foundry models, but which ones and what's out there? Because very much sometimes the model does have a big play in what type of output you're going to get from the same set of inputs, right? You can be as structured as you want to be in that agent configuration and flow of it, but throwing it against GPT 5.5 versus the new 5.6, Sol, Luna, Terra stuff, gives you very different results.
So my understanding of this, based on the blog post, and I didn't see it in the documentation, is that it is very much a multi-model, where it might be using some OpenAI, it might be using some Claude. It also looks like it is using, and we didn't even talk about this, the MAI. I don't know how you pronounce Microsoft's models now. the Cyber One Flash, which is Microsoft's new security model that they claim it scored better above Mythos. I think all of these companies run their own benchmarks on their own models.
Your mileage is going to vary with benchmarks and what are out there.
Yeah, on how it is, but it does say it does. Oh, here it does. Project Perception will take advantage of that Cyber One Flash model from Microsoft that they created.
For which parts? For what? For which parts?
It doesn't say. I don't know. I don't know. I like my kids. Ask me impossible questions.
That's where all your SCU cost is coming from. It's all hidden away under the hood.
That's my understanding is I don't know that they're publishing the model because, do they even know which one gets passed off to which model? Or is this one of those where there's the initial foundational model that initially prompts it, and then the agents go out to find the right model based on the tasks they want to do? There is some blurriness there in which models it's using where. Other than that, it is going to use Microsoft's model, its aspects of it. How that propagates out to other ones is absolutely vague.
I think it's going to take some time to figure it all out.
Yes. Yeah, no single model will be optimal for every security task. Cyber defense requires the right model for the right problem at the right time. Project Perception, the right model is determined by the combination of quality, reliability, latency, and cost, rather than relying on a single model, blah, 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 blah. So it is using a slew of models that it picks based on some rules Microsoft has in place.
Yeah.
Interesting. But we'll have that, the blog post. So there's the blog post out there. There's the Microsoft webpage out there that we'll have in the show notes. And then all the Learn documentation is already available. So you can go read all about this, see everything. You just can't get access to it yet. They do have a button for contact sales where you would normally go to like buy a preview or get started with it. Anytime a website tells me to contact sales, I think of this isn't going to be cheap. That's just my pre-programming. So I'm excited to get my hands on it and try it out and see what's in there at some point in time. I don't know when that will be. We'll have a follow-up episode when we can actually play with it.
Follow-up. Ben plays with agents in the cloud. Yeah, no, I think it'll be interesting to see how it forms over time and like how the manifestations of those agents change. Like I said, they're very high level today, and it's going to be quite the journey to see them go from like being able to affect like tenant configuration changes, things like that. It's like a hard no and read only to more broad yeses and what can be out there and be done with it.
With that, I have a meeting coming up. I would love to hear other people's thoughts on this. If somebody listening actually is in the public preview and has access to it and you're allowed to talk about it, feel free to reach out. Like I said, this past week, we had some discussion on Reddit about some of these things on the MS Cloud IT Pro subreddit. Feel free to discuss on LinkedIn as well. Would love to chat with people there and get people's thoughts. Also, Scott, if there is anybody that's going to be at TechCon 365 in Seattle, the end of August, it'll be like 2 weeks after this episode comes out. I will be out there doing a few sessions and would love to connect with anybody that will be out in Seattle at the end of August for that conference.
Got any codes or anything for them?
I do have a code. I should know what it is. Oh, I should have looked it up. It can be in the show notes. I'm not going to even make one up.
I put you on the spot, so we'll put it in the show notes.
There's 2 Bens you did. We'll put it in the show notes. There's 2 Bens, and I can't remember if I'm Ben or Ben 2.
I mean, you are Ben as well. That's okay.
I am Ben as well. And I was trying to find one of my posts here that... Oh, here it is. I know where I can find it. Oh, super quick. How quick can I go? I found a post that has my code BEN200. BEN and then the number 200. We'll save you $200.
BEN200. And TechCon in Seattle?
TechCon in Seattle. Yep, August 24 through 28.
All right. Well, thanks for sitting on. It's always good to walk through a spec sheet with you here, Ben.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. Thank you for your perspective on perception. Your perception of perception.
We're gonna get all twisted around.
All right. It's Monday. Go enjoy your meetings.
Thanks, Ben.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
If you enjoyed the podcast, go leave us a 5-star rating in iTunes. It helps to get the word out so more IT pros can learn about Office 365 and Azure. If you have any questions you want us to address on the show or feedback about the show, feel free to reach out via our website, Twitter, or Facebook. Thanks again for listening and have a great day.